Hey there! I am so happy to introduce you to Intentional Birth, an online childbirth course created by two experienced doulas who've attended hundreds of births in every setting, including home, birth center, car, and literally dozens of different hospitals. Alicia Fishbein is a busy Bay Area doula and exceptional birth advocate. And I'm Meredith Nelson, a Virginia based doula and restorative exercise specialist. Alicia and I came together over our shared commitment to educating our clients prenatally in thorough fashion about their birthing rights and options, about the birth process, and about decision-making tools. We also share a deep commitment to continuous learning and effort to become better advocates and supporters of the families we serve. In the meantime, we have bonded over our love of classic art and literature, of walking in the woods, of delicious food, and over our similar life, family, and spiritual values. Needless to say, we became best friends. This course fills some important gaps in the childbirth education options currently available to families. It's designed specifically for women planning physiologic birth, that's unmedicated birth with little to no intervention. Possibly the most robust course on the market, it includes more than 20 hours of video instruction, a beautiful 200-page workbook, hundreds of bibliographic links to further reading and research, and twice monthly live mentoring calls. The course is drip-fed to students over a 6-week period, but it can also be purchased all at once by students who are in a hurry. Students get lifetime access to the material with all of its updates. Our course is based in 3 S's: science, sage wisdom, and stories. We rely heavily on the work of researchers and science translators such as Rebecca Decker, Rachel Reed, Lily Nichols, Sarah Wickham, Sarah Buckley, and many others. We care about presenting as accurate and evidence-based information as we can when discussing the admittedly gray and undefined thing that is physiologic birth. We also share our own experiences and the sage wisdom of many colleagues in this work. Finally, the course is packed with stories, both from our work as doulas and directly from the mouths of women who agreed to share their stories on video. About half of our lectures are slideshows like this, instructing our students about topics, and the other half are living room chats in which Alicia and I share true stories related to the material. I'm going to walk you through our 12 modules so you can better understand both our mission and our methods. Then I'll end by showing you what a few sample lectures look like. We follow a mountain metaphor throughout the course because preparing for birth is so much like preparing for a good climb, with similar challenges, rewards, obstacles, and beauties along the way. Module 1 is called Declare Yourself Captain. It's all about personal responsibility. Because our students are already planning on birthing with little to no intervention, we are able to focus in a concentrated way on the kinds of choices they'll be presented at every juncture and how those choices can potentially affect their physiologic processes. We do this with non-judgment and always in support of a mother's authority to make choices for her own body and baby. This first module is short but foundational. In it, we encourage parents to take personal responsibility for their birth choices. We believe that in doing so, they're most likely to have a satisfying birth experience, as shown in the evidence, and also that they'll be far better prepared for the parenting journey ahead. Module 2 is called Know the Birth Terrain. This is our survey of physiologic birth. We take our students through the process of birth, how the baby passes through the pelvis, what hormones drive the birth processes, and what the typical stages of birth look like. But because we can't ever keep ourselves from saying the honest truth in this course, we also tell them that this information probably won't matter very much. That for hundreds of thousands of years, women have given birth without knowing the stages of labor or the cardinal movements of the baby. While we systematically lay out all of the information a parent could want to know in preparation for birth, we are big on instinct. For that reason, this module focuses as much on the birth environment as it does on the mother-baby process. Our tagline for intentional birth is, know your options, know your worth. But secretly, it might as well be, plan your birth environment with care. We emphasize this fundamental principle throughout the course. Which brings us to Module 3, Choose a Team and a Route. As doulas, we've observed that women planning physiologic birth are often ill-prepared for the reality of birth in the hospital or medical context. Our course lays the foundation for an honest understanding of that context through history lessons, stories, and statistics. And then in Module 4, we offer informed decision-making and advocacy tools to assist parents in achieving a positive in-hospital physiologic birth. We discuss in detail the birthplace decision, and since our students are already planning for a physiologic birth, we encourage consideration of out-of-hospital options, as these are often better aligned with the values and plans associated with physiologic birth. Our goal is to help our students assess their birthplace and birth team carefully in light of those values and preferences. Again, always bringing it back to personal responsibility. We emphasize that as doulas, we have witnessed positive births in every setting. This module also discusses the roles of birth partner, midwife, doctor, and doula in detail. We emphasize that we actually think doulas are not necessary, even if they are nice to have, for a normal physiologic birth, but that in a clinical environment such as the hospital, for a planned physiologic birth, doulas do take on special importance. Module 4 is called Crossroads and Conversations. This is where many of the most important tools are offered. We discuss in detail what your legal and human rights are in childbirth, and we do share stories of families whose rights were being threatened or violated and who advocated for themselves effectively. We share advocacy and communication tools to preempt negative confrontation, to de-escalate it if it happens, and to set a tone of mutual respect in the birth room without modifying the birth plan just to make someone else comfortable. We also teach decision-making tools, including the classic brain tool and other unique tools, and we role-play scenarios in which students can practice these tools. Finally, in Module 4, we discuss the racial disparities in maternal-fetal outcomes, and we link to resources for Black women by Black women. Module 5 is a really unique part of our course. If you're going to climb Everest, you have to train your body and your mind. Do we think that birth is natural and that it works? We do. And we also know that most of the women taking our course have always lived in a sedentary and undernourished culture. As a restorative exercise specialist trained by Katie Bowman, biomechanist and founder of Nutritious Movement, in Module 5, I discuss daily habits and choices that impact the body's readiness to bear the loads of pregnancy, make space for optimal fetal positioning, and optimize birth and recovery. In addition to discussing daily movement habits and alignment, I present an essential set of restorative exercises to prime the body for walking and for birthing. We discuss practices for optimal fetal positioning in Module 5, while also acknowledging that most fetal positions can be considered variations of normal. Alicia discusses optimal nutrition as prevention for common pregnancy-related diseases and as a way to build a healthy baby and stay energized and nourished. She also teaches measures for preventing GBS and gestational diabetes and discusses the tests, treatments, and alternatives associated with those diagnoses. We present both eating and movement as activities that are meant to bring us joy rather than guilt. And while we emphasize personal responsibility, we also offer modifications for women experiencing severe morning sickness or structural pain, or who are unable to follow the best recommendations for any reason. Finally, Module 5 discusses preparing the mind for birth. We are big fans of the Gentle Birth app and recommend it to our students, along with presenting our own philosophy surrounding pain and mindful acceptance based on our experience and on available research. Module 6 is Plan Your Journey. Here we discuss the what, when, and why of a birth plan, emphasizing that the birth plan is especially important as a prenatal communication tool. This is where we dive deep into the typical routines and tests and interventions offered prenatally and during birth in various birth settings and with various providers. We explain the impact that various interventions can have on a physiologic birth, and our students by now know that the choices are all in their hands. This module also encourages the preparation of contingency plans for home birth transfer, induction, and cesarean, so students have considered all of their options and hopefully feel more confidence and less fear as they approach their birth. Module 7 is called Preparing for the Unexpected. While we don't believe in waving the specter of potential emergency, failure, or disruption in front of our students' faces, we also want them to be prepared with an approach to alternative routes, such as induction or cesarean, with intention. We discuss the evidence or lack thereof for induction or cesarean in various circumstances, and if they choose an induction or a cesarean, we share lots of tools to help it be as gentle and mother-centered as possible. We also discuss birthing with an epidural and how to mitigate potential negative effects of this or other interventions. We discuss birth timelines and stalled labor, or our preferred term, labor plateaus, helping our students understand the wide range and variation of normal labor progress. We hope that this video and many others help to instill a trust of birth in our students, while also giving them a framework for informed decision-making. Module 8 is the one every student has been waiting for. It's packed with all of the what to do during labor stuff. The comfort measures, the coping mechanisms, the positions, the logistical stuff like getting to the hospital, and what to expect in every phase. But we insert our extensive insight as doulas into everything here, giving away almost every trick of the trade. We believe that environment and a loving team are critical to supporting instinctive birth, but we also talk directly about those instincts in the mother that are going to allow her to sink into her labor, trust it, and cope well. We speak especially to instinctive sound and instinctive movement. We also have a fun little segment on birth fluids in all their varieties, with some good tips for moms and partners on how to respond to them. Module 9 is called After the Summit. This is the third stage module where we discuss maintaining as undisturbed an environment as possible to support a physiologic placental birth and reduce the risk of hemorrhage. We talk about initiating breastfeeding, the golden hours, and how to optimize that first day of bonding. Module 10 is called Birth Hijackers. While we are very clear that there are good reasons to change a birth plan and our students understand how to make an informed decision, we also share that we see a few things derail a birth plan more often than could possibly be necessary. This module includes a discussion of due dates, pre-labor rupture of membranes, high blood pressure, amniotic fluid levels, prodromal labor, meconium-stained water, the cervical lip, pushing upon arrival at 10 centimeters, time limits on pushing, and head compression during pushing. This module educates our students about how to ask more questions, how to get a second opinion, and how to consult their intuition when contemplating a change to their plan. Module 11 is about return, rest, and renewal. This is our still expanding module on the first days and weeks postpartum. Here we discuss breastfeeding with lactation consultant Emily Johnston, who breaks down a lot of breastfeeding myths that can set moms up for discouragement or failure. We also cover postpartum nutrition, movement, rest, support, and soul nourishment to help moms and babies through their first long days together. Module 12 is where our bonus birth stories live. This continuously expanding library of birth stories is accessible to students from their first day of class. All of these videos are positive birth stories told by women who wanted a physiologic birth and were intentional in their preparation. Some of them had to go to unusual lengths to accomplish their goals, such as changing their plan and choosing induction on the one hand, or firing a provider during labor on the other hand. There is lots of beautiful wisdom in this module. It could stand alone as a childbirth education course. Now, really quickly, I'll show you the different kinds of materials we have in the course. I'm going to play for you a 2.5-minute visual tour through the material that we recorded for potential students. By the way, almost all of our photography is from our Bay Area friend and brilliant photographer, Paige Driscoll. So first things first, the course is accompanied by a really thorough workbook. I have it in a PDF here that you can download. It's almost 200 pages long and full of tips, tools, research, and thoughtful questions for you to ask yourself and your care team. I've pulled up a few sample pages here. We have interview questions for care providers, whether hospital providers or out of hospital. We have a robust birth plan writing guide and a quick overview of the risks, benefits, and alternatives of common interventions. We talk about induction and cesarean and what your options are should those interventions be recommended for you. We've got a hearty section on body preparation, especially focusing on daily habits and environment, but also including lots of useful exercises for which there are accompanying videos in the course. You'll also find in the workbook some helpful guides on how to advocate respectfully and effectively for yourself. You'll find checklists for partners as you leave for the hospital or birth center or prepare your home for birth. We've got packing lists for every scenario and recommended foods for labor. There's also a guide for labor and pushing positions. So this has been just a tiny peek into what the workbook has to offer. Our birthday playbook is another printable guide that you can take with you on the day of birth as a reference. So let's dive into the course lectures now. In our educational lectures, we walk you through the facts and figures, the options and the evidence, and all the best tips and tricks for birth and for getting good care. Next, we have chats with Meredith and Alicia. In these videos, we are off script and telling true stories from our years on the front lines of doula work. We both believe in stories as the best way to connect our students with the births that they're preparing for. Every module ends with a dive deeper file. This is for students who want to dig into the research or to read perspectives other than ours. These files are packed with links to articles, videos, books, and online resources. Finally, my favorite section, Module 12, is filled with an ever-growing library of video birth stories by real women, mostly former clients of ours. So yeah, this is a lot of material, but the course is drip-fed to you over a 6-week period, and you have lifetime access to it. You'll also have a chance to ask us questions in person at our monthly group mentoring sessions. So that's it. Alicia and I are proud of the research and work that went into this course. While we humbly acknowledge that we can't possibly be right about everything, we stay curious and open and are committed to updating the course as new information and insight requires. All of our students get lifetime access to the course with all of its updates. Thanks for joining me on this in-depth tour of intentional birth. Please reach out to us at hello@intentionalbirth.co with any questions, and thank you for your continuing work on behalf of pregnant and birthing women and their families.